Welcome to the Windy City Podcast, presented by Fansided. Excuse me. You know my guy, my ace boon. That's Alex Shapiro over there. I'm Kenneth Davis. We're talking Bears drafts. And I mean, we got emotions and feelings and thoughts. Of course, we're going to talk about the players that the Bears have picked up in the last day. This is the last day of the draft for the rounds. What was it? Was it 4 through 7? Yeah, it was 4 through 7 because it was
Thank
1, then 2,
goodness.
and 3.
Thank
Four
goodness
through
Mr.
seven.
Ryan Poles traded his 2 7s for a 6 because Kenneth Davis
Three.
and I, truth be told, we're doing this. The draft is still going on. We're like, hey, they don't got any 7-rounders. And if you know what, if they trade up again and they get a 7th round pick, we'll talk about it in our next episode. That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about the undrafted players that get the Bears signed.
The UDFAs, that's for another day.
That's another day. That'll be the next episode. Maybe we'll do a midweek ep and get that out of the way. So we'll get back to you on that. But just for anybody that's been living under a rock, all right, the Bears took Texas cornerback Malik Muhammad. They traded up to get him and gave up, what was it, like 140 something to get Malik Muhammad. Then they took Arizona State linebacker Keyshawn Elliott. And finally, they took Georgia Tech defensive tackle and South African Jordan Vanderberg. I think they got an Africana up in there.
I think he's the first South African. He is a white man, so I don't know.
That's why I said Africana.
Okay,
Alex.
I didn't know. I was like, I'm not.
That
sure.
implies that. That implies
okay,
Africana. Implies he's from a European or a Scandinavian land. I believe Dutch. His family may not be, but that's what the Afrikaners come from in South Africa.
Well, I learned something today, so thank you for teaching
refugees.
me that, Kenneth Davis. He is a white man from South Africa, and I believe the first South African ever drafted in the NFL draft.
Also, the crazy part, there were only 2 Georgia Tech players drafted. One was on Thursday, and he's the last. Man, Georgia Tech, you really need to step your program up, man. That's bad business. And look, they actually were decent at the beginning of the season, but maybe it's those players are on the first and second years or some redshirt years. But yeah, Georgia Tech and South Africans, you got to step your game up. We have to, Alex, you and I, sir, should travel to the South Africa. And we should also not just bring back Afrikaners, we'll bring back Africans.
I've been there.
I know you have. I remember.
I got South African art on my wall, right? Here, there it is. That's from South Africa.
Did you run in someone's house and take it and then say that you found it and you're putting it in a museum?
No.
Oh, well. All right.
I bought it in a market.
Subject for another day.
Subject for another day.
All right. So let's take this back. All right. So make sure that we go over day 2. All right. We have one guy that was on our radar, right? So yes. I know people are upset. I know there are some people upset about this, but guess who isn't? Us.
No.
We have Logan Jones. The Bears moved up to grab Logan Jones at number 57 out of Iowa. All right. If you have something bad to say about an Iowa offensive lineman or tight end, we don't want to hear anything about it.
Who's ever said anything bad about an Iowa offensive lineman?
It would be that they shouldn't have taken him in this spot for me. And the funny thing is, Thursday night, towards the end of the show, and Alex and I were talking, and we were going over a myriad of ways that Friday night's picks could go.
Right.
And one of the ones that was mentioned was if they draft a center, neither one of us would be upset as far as we wanted either a defensive back, definitely a defensive lineman. If it was left tackle happened, but if a center happened, I made a statement right then, we're down with that. And they got the guy that I believe Alex may have mentioned first during our podcast in Logan Jones during the shows that we talked about.
Absolutely randomly. We did the mock draft. Remember, it was either Jake Slaughter or Logan Jones. And because Iowa had beaten Florida that day or something, it was like Iowa beat Florida. So we're going to talk about the Iowa guy. But yeah, the Iowa guy who enjoyed his Hawkeyes beating the Gators and then giving the Illini a pretty tough run in March Madness. He is a Chicago Bear and makes all the sense in the world, Kenneth. And as you said, you kind of pick up the thread for where you left it. When the Bears had 57 and 60, right? You got these 2 picks in close succession. You have a hole impending, right? Garrett Bradbury always felt like a bridge, always felt like oh my goodness, our guy just retired. Let's make sure we have a solution right now that's taken care of. And then we're going to address it even more later. That always felt like the plan. And, for people saying like, oh, why would you take him there when you could have taken him later? Consensus draft boards, pundit draft boards, all of that is stuff, and it's entertaining. It gives us something to talk about, and it gives us a little framework to think about. But like, I've said this so many times on this show. People are like, oh, the ADP for Logan Jones is much later. There is no ADP. There's no average draft position in the NFL draft because the draft happens once. The draft happens once. It does not happen on mock draft simulators online. It happens once for real. There is no average. Guys are picked where they are picked, right? Now we can talk more about overgrading, undergrading later, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that more and more. But when the run on defensive linemen happens early on, it felt like, okay, yeah, the Bears are probably going to move back from one of these picks. We talked about that on the show, right? Hey, if a bunch of guys fall, will they move up? If only a few players fall, will they stay put? And if everybody's gone, are they going to trade back? It was kind of a blend, right? The big run happened on defensive linemen. The Bears opted not to get into the mix. More on that later. And instead they said, okay, let's get the center we want. Let's not wait and mess around and then maybe somebody gets Logan Jones and then we're stuck with our second choice at center. No, go get your first choice at center. And if you get him at 57 instead of 64 or whatever, who cares? It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter if you picked him at 57 instead of 65 or 50, whatever.
Okay. To add and piggyback what my guy right here is saying. And again, the draft value, I hear what you're saying. The need for center was pressing for this team. Maybe they could have gotten him in the third or used that second round pick. But this is everything that you keep hearing out of Iowa. The teams that was checking on Lojo the most were the Bears and the Ravens. All right. We were looking from the new Lindstrom. All right. That's the Lindenbaum. We're looking for that. That's what I meant to say. Right.
Yeah,
the Ravens, and this is the thing, all right? And I could be wrong. I don't care. If you feel like I'm wrong, that's fine too. The Ravens didn't draft a center, all right? And this is just my opinion, meaning that they weren't going for we'll take any center. They were going for we wanted him, okay? And we'll also use that on the Bears too a little bit later. We'll put a button in that. So if the Ravens, you didn't know when the Ravens were going to swing for them, both of you coveted them, you knew this, and you got who you needed, I have no problem with it. We know, how important center is. And one thing we've talked on this show a lot, and this won't be perhaps at the beginning of the season, maybe hope springs eternal, it could, but the question was, could you sustain being lesser at center than you were with Bradbury compared to Dahlman with the left tackle situation, right? And that was the question. If the Bears were strong from right tackle to left guard, and the question at tackle wasn't as strenuous as what it would be compared to if they're less than average or average at best at center when you're talking about going from right tackle all the way to left guard. Now, and it may not be at the beginning of the season, but you look at what Lojo can bring, it seems as if you may be good again. It may be during the season. It could be the following season, as Alex mentioned, with Bradbury being a stopgap kind of guy. Let's also remember, the Vikings no longer wanted him, and clearly neither did the Patriots. All right.
Whose offensive line was not very good, by the way.
Exactly.
If the Patriots offensive line that wasn't very good, we're good on Bradbury.
Right.
You wanted that's why we were still like, no, they got to draft a center.
Yeah, you did. So again, if you think it's too high, fine. I don't have a problem with it. The next player, I'm hoping to hear complaints about this, not about him, about where he was drafted, perhaps.
about where he was drafted. One last thing on Logan
Please
Jones
go
before
ahead, Alex. I
we jump
apologize.
base. The two comps you always hear for Logan Jones, by the way, the two comps from all these pundits, from all the scouts, et cetera, are Tyler Linderbaum, the guy
Mhm.
who every Bears fan wanted to sign, and Drew Dahlman, the guy who just left.
Right.
So
Right.
you got
So
the technician. You got the technician, and maybe he's a little small, but no pressures allowed, no sacks allowed last season. Mega
right.
technician, fits the run scheme. You know, the Bears have their run scheme that they are going to do. That's Ben Johnson's bread and butter. He's going to slide right in and know exactly what to do. It just makes all the sense in the world. Don't mess around. Just get the guy. Just get the
Yeah.
guy so you don't miss the guy.
You want to make sure the run scheme works because it opens it up for everything else. What happened once the Bears, after that mini bye, were able to start running the football? Right. It took him. I think sometimes we're living in that haze where we forget how long it took for the passing game to catch up to the running game.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, and they were in a lot of games, one because of the turnovers, but because after week 5 or so, they could run the ball. All right. So you have to have that, and to not put everything on super gunslinger quarterback Caleb Williams. All right. One thing that I did know, and I don't know if I said it enough on the show, I knew they were going to take a tight end. Like, it was I knew I didn't think it was going to be in the 3rd round. I thought this may have been the situation where in the 4th, and I still could have been I would have been still somewhat like in the 4th, but I thought maybe the 7th rounder, or if they got back into the 5th or something. But I knew they were taking a tight end. It was no question that Ben Johnson wants to have all swing players, all NBA swing players playing tight end for him, that he can get is right as many as possible. Like, it's like, how many Cooper Flags you got back there? 4? Bring them. But as many as possible. The Sam Roush one, we'll get in it. We'll, again, player prospect wise, seems like a good prospect.
Great.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah. Can catch the ball, can block, but the Bears definitely did need that. And also, and I'll say this now, be interesting to see what happens with Cole Kmet after this season. Just putting that out there too. Not saying they have to get rid of him. I mean, the kid's
the
on
same
a rookie
conversation
deal.
we had after the Bears drafted Luther Burden. We're like, I wonder what this means for DJ Moore after this season.
That part. Right here, though, LSU wide receiver Xavier Thomas. Woo-wee.
Now, this is also funny because after the tight end pick, Kenneth and I in the text thread, what do we say? Watch them mess around and pick some crazy, just watch them pick some gadget wide receiver. I laid out Zach Branch, and then I was like, or Jacoby Lane, the USC connection. But those guys went back to back before the Bears could get on the board. So instead, they got a different gadget wide receiver, Xavier Thomas.
That right there, I don't know what. That's a lot. That's too much right there. I'm being honest with you at that point. And again, I'm not with it. Let me say that. I'm not taking anything away from this player. I'm not taking anything away from them. This is where, for me, it's like you're doing too much. Out of the, so let's go 2, 3, 3. I didn't care where you got Lojo. I just knew you needed to get him. So at least you got him. I'm sure we all would have preferred if he was at 89. But my point being, you got him. I think he would have been going somewhere between 57 and 69, though. So you got him. The other two guys, man, again, I'm not mad at the Sam Roush, but there's question marks here because there's clearly a new draft strategy, but we will get to that after we can finish running through everybody. All right. Again, you have Texas cornerback Malik Muhammad, Slim, has the Bears pro personnel guy was talking about, has a body that you can put some meat on. He's still young. Looks like he's definitely gonna have a chance to be a starter. Went there with, I'm gonna be a one and done. And I mean in the possibility of the NFL, as far as I'm doing 3 and I'm out. All right, like not playing around. 3 years league. All right, had that on his mind. Kid got out of there. Needed another body, probably a special teamer. We know they needed a linebacker, something we talked about. Not necessarily a coverage guy. You have Arizona State's linebacker Keyshawn Elliott at 166. And of course, as we went over, as far as the great Africana that's ever been at Georgia Tech, they have defensive tackle Jordan Vandenberg as their last pick at 213. An interesting draft. So this is my first thing, Alex, and I want to get your emotions on how you felt about this draft.
Yeah.
After last night, and this is because this, let's be honest, everybody. I know people are going to be like, Ryan Poles, Ryan Poles, Ryan Poles. This has been Johnson, Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson.
Oh,
all
for
right.
sure.
Yes, this has been.
For
I
sure.
mean, you can tell by how heavy it went offense, right? Ben Johnson, he's like, man, I throw you a bone and give you a cornerback, right?
Oh,
right.
DA, you're still in here.
Oh man, DA.
All right, wait, the defense.
Right, DA was in the corner seething. You can see the smoke coming off of his head, right? He said, "Oh wait, the defense." Listen, I will say this. The thing that, and I was talking to a former compatriot of ours, and Josh Schrock through text today, and Josh was rightfully so complaining about the fact that they haven't got to address the defensive line, right? And with him, and I was saying, well, one before it was, let me try to look for the rarest prospect that I can get my hands on, and say that the Velus Jones, the Career Abingajis, the whatever kind of project I can get my hands on and see if I can make this guy into something. Remember the kid from the little small HBCU kid, the little chubby one they picked up in like the 6 or 7 of DT like
Travis
2 years
Bell?
ago?
Travis Bell?
Yeah.
Ryan Poles' favorite human alive?
That part. So just all that. And to me, the difference is I just want the guy that I like at that when we pull up to that pick. I feel like is the difference, the new strategy. Forget need as much as best player that Ben Johnson basically says I can use him. That seems like the new strategy.
The new thing is we are going highest on our board that Ben Johnson has a plan for.
Yep. That's it. And right now, and Ben Johnson doesn't do the defense, if you didn't know. All right. So
even like Ben that, Johnson, though, is like Dylan Thieneman. Yeah, I understand why that kid's good.
That was it, dude. That Ben Johnson pulled one of those tricks that you pull on somebody who was like, yeah, you can go first. But you know what, man? I owe you. You go first this time. But that, and you think it's gonna be you go, I go, or like, man, last year you went offense on like the first 3 or 4 players, right? That's what you're envisioning. Like, man, he at least gonna let me go like twice, 2 out of the first 3, something like that, 3 out of the first 4. I know he gonna look out, and he gave him Dylan Thieneman and was like, cut him off, right?
We all have that friend. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I'm this guy who buys the first round. It's like, I got the first round, guys. And then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, he's like, well, I got the first round.
Yes, that's a good analogy right there. Yes. Or it's basically akin to, let me be the big spender. I'm gonna take out and spend this money, and you throw that big wallet down, but then the next dates is really sitting there paying for it, and it's just like exactly. So again, that to me, Alex, seems like what they're doing. And I guess the question will have to be, so you didn't really like any other of the defensive prospects, prospects?
I guess.
Because if we're going to use, you got to take Logan Jones when you can get Logan Jones, and you may draft him earlier. The same should apply to if there was a defensive lineman that you liked.
Agreed.
So you're basically saying that after that run of defensive linemen, you didn't like anymore. Now, I'll say this, and if they don't have the success with this draft group, it will be a question. It will be a question going all the way to the top of this draft with Dylan Thieneman, because you will say then, could you have went early and gotten a defensive lineman that you desired, and then took
later? There are a lot of good safeties later.
That's the thing. And could you have taken your safety at 57 instead, or traded up to get hired for that safety, but not as giving up as much as you would have had to if you want to trade up to get into the defensive lineman run in the beginning of the 2nd round? That will be a question. So we're not kissing and throwing bouquets at all this bear shit. No, there's questions to be had here if there's not success. To me, and I'll say this before I kick it to you, they got to trade for somebody. Like, if you there has to be.
To me, we like Ryan Poles as soon as the UDFAs are wrapped up.
Do so much.
All right, I pulled it up. To me, it's just obviously okay. They got to get back into free agency, and there are big names still out there. There are budget names still out there. There are a lot of edge
I know you've
rushers.
been that. Okay. Keep going. Let me hear it. Let me
Let's
hear what
start
you
with
got to say.
Cam Jordan. You mentioned Cam Jordan, the
Who is
reunion
older?
between
Who's older than both of us put together?
maybe.
I
But
love
the
Cam Jordan
DA,
too. Let me say that.
he's great, and you know what? Durable, been great. I mean, there are going to be there's a reason why none of these guys are signed right now. Let's
Right.
also be frank. This is free agency wave 3, wave 4, but there's a pause on free agency right before the draft because everybody wants to see what they can do in the draft, and now it's clear the teams that did not get DEs are going to be digging into this pool again. I'm just going to list off names. There is a reason these guys are still on the market. Cam Jordan, Von Miller, Danico Autry, Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, AJ Epinesa, Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney, Marcus Davenport, another guy who has experience with DA.
DA.
Yes. Dwayne Smoot, Clellan Farrell. Like I can go on. There are
Don't you none of those about three names.
That's what we're looking at
ago. Have cut it at about three names.
That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at here. And I think that's the expectation is that a guy of that caliber. And it's not plan A, it's not plan B, it's maybe plan C. But it seems like the Bears are at plan C. And here's the other thing. It's like in a vacuum, it's understandable, right? Okay, the Bears let the board come to them. There was a run on DEs. They didn't like Daryl Jackson. They didn't like so-and-so. They didn't like this guy. So they let the board come to them and they took their best player available that Ben Johnson has a plan for. But the thing is, this has been going on for years. How many years we've been talking about the Bears need help in the pass rush, in the draft, like pretty much since Ryan Poles got here. And it has been ignored. It hasn't worked out. The board hasn't fallen their way every year, right? And at a certain point, it feels like you got to create your own luck. You got to come to the board. If the board isn't coming to you, it feels like at a certain point, you got to go to the board. And Ryan Poles has never been shy about getting his guy, which is what's also kind of surprising. So maybe they just really have not liked DEs or DTs anywhere near their range, but that seems unlikely that over all these years, they haven't had guys that they were close on, that they could have gotten, that they didn't, because this is a GM who went out and got Chase Claypool, who went out and got Montez Sweat, who, has traded up traded up a few times in this draft, is not afraid to make a move, is not afraid to make a splashy or to zig when people are zagging. And it's just like, I don't know, year after year after year, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. This isn't just this year. We're looking at the totality of it. When I look at the totality of it, it's like at a certain point, man, like go out and create your own luck and go draft a DE. And I understand they've already invested a ton. They've invested a ton between Montez Sweat, between Dio Dingbo. But when it comes to the draft, like you got to be adding young talent. So that to me, let's set Logan Jones aside. Letting Logan Jones come to you and taking Logan Jones at 57, I'm all for it, right? I'm all for that. But now when we're talking about tight end 3, I know you guys run a lot of 12. I know you guys run a lot of 13, but I got 2 great tight ends already. To me, you should be going into that plan C free agent class looking for your tight end 3, not your potential DE 3. Your DE 3 is just so much more important than your tight end 3. Again, I don't care how much 12 and 13 you run. We're talking about replacing Durham Smythe here. And Durham Smythe was good. I don't mean that to be like shady towards Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe was exactly what the Bears needed out of their tight end 3. But there's levels to the positional values of it all. Where like center was a huge need that they filled. So I don't mind that they spent a lot of draft capital to go fill that center need. But now it's like, dude, you're talking about your tight end 3. You're talking about your wide receiver 5, who Ryan Poles in the press conference said, like, yeah, he's got a lot of work to do to make it past Khalif Raymond. You know, like when
let you know how unnecessary it
right.
was.
Khalif Raymond is gonna be. You were good if he's your kick returner, if he's your punt returner. You're talking about a guy now competing for kick return, punt return snaps, and it's like, yeah, maybe we'll have some running back packages for him. And you're picking these guys, these niche gadget, small package players instead of a position that is really important.
And this is compounded by, this is what happens when your general manager loses some power. And because he doesn't have the ability to be like, truly, in my opinion, you know what? Nah, Ben, we got to do this. We're not
getting the tight end 3.
Right. We're not getting the 5th receiver gadget guy. We're not getting you another gadget guy, right? Like you gadgeted it enough. And that's where you need that guy to step in. And I'll go back to this. There's 2 things you said that stand out to me. For anybody still complaining about Lojo, the same way you feel about the defensive line, and I want you Bears fans to remember this, that's the same way we've been talking about center for the last 5 years.
Totally.
All right. It's been the same thing, because until last year, it was the defensive line and the offensive line. All right. We've been talking wage for years on defensive line, and we've been talking about every time in the past, since me and Alex have just been doing shows together, that it's been they need a left tackle. It was no, they got holes on the offensive line. Now they did remedy that, but I just want to point out that we know how bad this can be with stopgap centers. All right. Mm-hmm. And I'm not down with the stopgap center stuff anymore. Do not bring me your backup Packers or old ass Bear guys that can't play center no more. All right. I don't want to see it. Or guys you got off a scrap heap, some Sam Mustipher, who, again, if you need him break emergency glass, because like that's cool because he's not supposed to start. All right. And you're like, oh, he wasn't as bad as I thought when he started. Yes, but not he's in the plan. All right. Like, don't bring me that. Now, switching this to the defensive line and Ryan Poles. But again, the lack of power. Ryan Poles, the last time the Bears had good defensive line or a defensive lineman that could pressure the quarterback, he traded both of them away. All right. You traded both of them away. You have
Robert Quinn, I imagine.
Yes, and you haven't. Thank you. You haven't done an adequate job of bringing in better players. Montez Sweat is not better than either one of them. All right. Period. In the discussion. He's not. He may be younger, but he's not better than what they were in a Bears. Well, what's the situation where he had the bad year, then he had to almost broke the record. Robert Quinn almost breaking the record here. That's a hat.
Break the record.
Well, my point still being, remember the first year.
The first year was no good when he was.
It was
and then the second year, it was real good. And it was like, oh wait, can you imagine if they still had Khalil Mack on this team?
That part right there. But the fact that you thought Montez Sweat was Batman, and then you thought you can give him Robin, and you spent money on Robin. That should have been a higher drafted player to play opposite of a veteran already in a Montez Sweat, to align them. So when Sweat is coming off the books, you have to pay that kid instead of going out and spending money on a guy that the damn Colts didn't want anymore. All right. Like this is how you get yourself into these issues. And then everything that you were saying, Alex, is, for me, it still doesn't address what's going to happen in the interior. Like, where is the interior push going to be? So one, Odangbo has a bad Achilles. How do we know when you come back? And because he's got to go play some inside more often. If I'm correct, I know that was supposed to be the thing, that you could kick him inside and all that, but I still don't see. And I know the same with Shamar Turner. I still don't see where the pressure that you haven't been getting, even when you had a hot Montez Sweat, you still needed better interior pressure. I can't go into next year thinking Grady Jarrett is going to be even better than this year, even though he's healthy, because I don't know if age is also a part of his lack of production or not. So those are just some of the questions that I have looking at what the plan is to make sure you're pressuring your opposing team's quarterbacks and stopping the run. Because I'll be honest with you, I see Houston drafting McDonald. What's the kid out of Caden? The kid out of Caden McDonald.
Your favorite player in this draft.
But that's perfect when you have Anderson and Danielle Hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're like, dude, I got edge rushers. You know what I keep on tuck? Edge rushers, right?
Yep.
Now I got the best run stopping DT in the draft. Dog, we going ham out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, and if I would have, I'll be honest with you, if we had gotten to the Sam Roush pick, and I know he wasn't on the board, but he was still on the board, or it could have been some flipping with Lojo, I would have gone ahead with your guy and just forget it. Let's stop the run. Let's do something. Let's do something, man.
Let's plug up the middle.
Let's stop something, bro. Let's stop something, because this is befuddling if you're not going to really attack it. Alex, you know how I love draft capital. I do not like giving draft capital away. Yeah. I'm ready to call the Raiders. Could you patch me through? All right, I got one. Look,
Mr. Crosby.
Yeah. Whoa. I got it. I hate giving up first. I give you a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 3. I'm sorry. It's to that point where it's like you got to have. There has to be an infusion of something special into that defensive line. And this is the crazy part where I'm talking aloud, and this is where the draft gives you hope. The guy that they drafted may not have even been it turned out to be good. So that would just take the hope we will still have that he would pop. But that's the part with the draft. But now that the hope is gone, you have to address the interior of this line. I'll say
adding more talent, we're not saying that the Bears should be quitting on Gervon Dexter. We're not saying that the Bears should be quitting on Austin Booker.
Austin Booker, I'm down with the Booker. I'm down with the Booker.
You want to be adding more talent. And in Shamar, the Shamar Turner situation is unfortunate because he was dealing with the injury and he didn't really get to see what he was fully. But it's more question marks, right? It's more, hopefully Gervon Dexter pops. Well, hopefully Austin Booker continues to take that next step. And when you infuse more talent into those position groups, you're less reliant on, hopefully this guy pops, because then it's like, okay, if this guy pops and we got this other young guy, you're just increasing your chances that you really got something to work with, where now you do have help for Montez Sweat, and hopefully Montez Sweat can go back to his first 6 games or whatever it was as a Chicago Bear, 8 games, however long that half of a season was after the Bears traded for him.
Dude, I'm not upset. I'm kind of upset because I just talked myself into being upset. I wasn't upset. I've literally just talked myself into being upset on camera right here. So this is the question too, because I thought you was gonna run down the DT age free agents, so the 5th wave of DTs. And it's like, so what? You're gonna get one of the guys that the Vikings let go? You're gonna get Hargrove, or I don't know if Allen is still. I think Allen may have signed, but like the guys that are out there are guys that aren't efficient any longer, or productive is a better word.
Yeah, Javon Hargrave. I mean, how many games has he played the last few years?
Right, and it's like I just needed I needed a 3 technique. He may not even be able to do anything.
Well, they did get a 3 technique at the end, like Vandenberg. I'm so sorry. Apologies.
Yes, Jordan Vandenberg.
He is a 3 tech, but you would imagine that they would be using more premium draft choices at these positions, and then you use your 6th and your 7th to go get your tight end 3.
I never knew my guy to say that the 6th round pick was the guy that we were looking for to be Timothy. And my guy just said that.
Hey, every once in a while, you got a common young guy. You got an Elijah Hicks.
You're right. Look, if that happens, I'm happy. But to put that on this young man is a bit much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that to me is where it's like, are we seeing the same things? Because I know if there was a pet, and I'm joking, and I don't believe in doing this, but if there was a pet at the Allen household, he may should hide from that man today in case he's kicking anything and everything. I'm sorry. Because Dennis Allen, I know Dennis. What? You don't have to
he got Malik Muhammad.
Nice. He said Malik Muhammad.
He's still watching tape of Dylan right now. Ben Johnson's like, hey, we got the safety. We got you, Dylan Thieneman. Can I show
Listen,
you these Oregon highlights again?
That's what he's at home. That's all he has right there because that man will not give him a defensive. You will not pressure the quarterback the proper way, sir. You will send every wave. Listen, right now, Dennis Allen is thinking about how many disguise from the safety and nickel position blitzes
Yeah, exactly.
that he can come up
Ben
with.
Johnson, right? You did a really good job with the creative blitz packages you came up with. The way you were able to get, really dig deep in that bag to find the pressure. We can't wait to see what else you come up with this year, man.
Look, imagine. Look what Dennis is. All right, the guys you were sending last year on those blitz packages from the DBs. Imagine if they were faster.
Dylan Thieneman, very fast.
Everything's done. Everything's good now. Everything's good now. We don't have to worry about stopping anything. Imagine just the DBs. The DBs are everything here on this defense. But that was the problem with this draft. I'm never going to say I'm mad at the Logan Jones draft pick, you all. No. And I know some of you all are saying that. Not going to go there with you. And again, there were some good picks here, but the value of those picks is somewhat questionable now when you look at this draft in its totality.
Now, I know I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, but I feel like it's also worth pointing out the Xavier Thomas being drafted where he was drafted of it all. He was a third-round pick, right?
89
in the third. So this is also kind of a situation that is recurring with Ryan Poles. And I know I just said, I don't care if you take Logan Jones at 57 versus 65 versus 70, whatever. That is a smaller discrepancy. What we are now seeing over and over is Ryan Poles zigging in big ways compared to the consensus board. Xavier Jones drafted in the third round. And again, consensus boards, take it with a grain of salt.
Thomas.
I'm sorry. What I say, Xavier Jones?
Mm-hmm.
We're still learning. I'm so sorry. Xavier Thomas. Thank you so much. Xavier Thomas.
It's one of those black last names. Stop. Not you. I've done that. That's it. You can't have fun. It's not worth doing. Like,
oh my gosh.
Xavier Williams.
Apologies to Mr. Thomas. Consensus was this is a 7th round pick, maybe a UDFA. And it goes back to Ruben Hippolyte last year that they drafted in the 4th round. Consensus was this is a UDFA. It goes back to Velus Jones, who, by the way, Velus Jones reminds me a whole lot of Xavier Thomas. I do not wish that on Xavier Thomas. I really hope Xavier Thomas, for everybody's sake, can not put the football on the ground. And I wish him all the success in the world. But when you look at Xavier Thomas, you look at Velus Jones, they're similar football players. Velus Jones, they took him. That was a 3rd-round pick also, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the consensus
Alex,
was
you're talking yourself into
round.
You're going to get mad. You got to get mad.
Am I elevating my voice?
Yes, you are.
I'm going to bring it down a notch. But
no, go with
it. This is something where it's like, we got a little bit of a trend here now. This is now multiple times that this has happened. And at least the previous times, the Velus Jones and the Ruben Hippolyte, and I know it's only 1 year. It's way too early to call Ruben Hippolyte a bust. Ruben Hippolyte could not get on the football field last year. Velus Jones obviously
could not dress some games.
Exactly. Like, obviously that was a disaster. It hadn't worked out. It has not worked out the past 2 times. I mean,
I'll say this though, they did not have the this is not taken away from where Alex is talking about. This isn't overdrafting. This is drafting guys that were going to be UFA undrafted free agents.
Exactly. Like,
right?
You
As a difference,
could have gotten them.
Yeah,
27 hours later.
You could have pulled up. You could have pulled up on this too. Like, hey, get in. All right, like just walking with the stick with the handkerchief of clothes on the back.
We got a signing bonus for you. We got a signing bonus for you.
Jump in
and a plane ticket. Come on.
The difference I will say with this, and with how much everything had happened with Velus Jones, you did not have Ben Johnson there. Sure. I think so. Yes, Velus couldn't hold on to the ball, so that would have been an issue. But you didn't have someone to create good trick plays for your trick player, right? Sure. So again, we're still not saying you had to get him. That's not the point that I'm
Right.
making.
I'm not saying I hate Xavier Thomas. I think Xavier Thomas like is actually a really interesting player. And in a vacuum, if we're just talking about Xavier Thomas and what he can do for the Chicago Bears, it's really exciting. Using him at running back like the Bears did DJ Moore, getting him out in space, the return stuff. There's a lot of really interesting, intriguing stuff. But then you look at like, wait, everybody thought this was a 7th rounder. You took him in the 3rd. That's where the disconnect starts, especially when there were DTs we like still on the board, and you're getting your wide receiver 5 instead of adding that defensive line. That's where these things are butting against each other. In a vacuum, these players are good players. The backup linebacker, like this guy grew up watching Fred Warner, models his game after Fred Warner, can do a lot of good things, will play well on special teams. The tight end 3, like, yeah, in a vacuum, he's gonna probably have a role as a blocking tight end who can also split out. Like he'll have a you can see the vision for how he will help the Chicago Bears. It's that these picks aren't made in a vacuum though. They're not.
Yeah. That's the issue. Yeah, this wasn't it, to be honest with you. This wasn't the for this to be the 2nd draft and for there to be a lot more familiarity between your general manager and head coach. This wasn't it, and I didn't. It's funny, and these are natural emotions that these are boiling as we are here sitting here discussing it. But yeah, this was some missteps in this. If we're being honest with it, this is some missteps in this, man. And I'm always team Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's gonna have to get a general manager. I mean, sometimes you do not. Sometimes perhaps you shouldn't pick all the groceries, or someone at least has to make sure that when you want like the finest saffron, that maybe you can get that Costco saffron, right? We don't have to go to the best saffron dealer in the city, right? Where the purest of saffrons. And if you don't know saffron,
it's always me looking at a can of Pringles. There's Pringles at home. I don't need my 6 different flavor. Pringles has all the flavors. I do want to try them all. This is real life. I want to try all the Pringles flavors. You gotta make it through the Pringles in your cupboard before you get a new Pringles can.
That's that one right there. That's how right there. Because you already had your Khalif Raymond. You did not need a different flavor of trick player. All right, you didn't. Particularly a guy that it could be hard, but I'll say this too. With all that being said and done, guys are going to get hurt. All right. It's just the truth of the matter. Like your tight ends got hurt last year. All right. Tight ends got hurt. Your wide receivers got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Your cornerbacks got hurt. Your linebackers got hurt. All right. Like you're going to have injuries. So depth wise, but the value and over need. And it's just interesting to think you're telling me there wasn't an edge rusher or DT. There wasn't even a guy you thought, even if, we just bring him in and he kind of sees the field, but if we get him for like a season, that perhaps he can become something. Because some of these players you got right here are developmental players. So why couldn't you have done that on a guy that could perhaps put some fear in the heart of a quarterback or a running back and perhaps use him a little bit this year, but hope that, man, in a couple years, this guy could really be something if using our coaches, because now it seems like a premium has been placed on development, or at least you have coaches that are better when it comes to developing particular different styles of players than they were in the past. So that's where the frustration generates from.
You know what it is? This is the ultimate test in Ben Johnson, the city of Chicago trusts.
Yeah. And again, but
Ben Johnson was hired, and it was like, put all the faith in the world of Ben Johnson. And you know what? He showed year one, hey, this is why you trust me. It's being put to the test. It's being put to the test.
That's facts, 100%. And the thing is, I don't want people to think that Ben Johnson isn't as good because he's a head coach. And now you're giving the second year, he's going to the second year, first time head coach, general manager powers that perhaps he doesn't need all of that right now. This is because now you're talking about he's a coach and he's a GM, and you need someone, you like you have Veach in Kansas City. You have to have someone that, yeah, you're running it, but I am I do have authority in this. You know what I'm saying? I got trust in this, and perhaps that happen moving forward. But yeah, there's something in Hollis Hall that needs to be tweaked when it comes to this part, to where we also need to keep our eye on our needs too. And I know best player available always sounds great, but at times it has to be best player available for said need. Or, you know what, we got to give up something to go get the guy because due to the fact of the limited picks we have, he's probably not going to be there. And we have to, even if I don't have a 2 next year, we can go get him and I'll worry about that 2 next year.
Right. We're picking at 57, but man, do we love this guy at 40.
Right. We got to do something. You got to do something. You got to do something. And I mean, particularly when you look at your hopes are to be in the back of the first round every season now, that even if to a degree, even if it's that guy, that pick, like I wouldn't have been mad. I always want first round picks, but one thing about being a Bears fan, you've gone through years where you've made crazy trades, and you haven't had a first round pick in 2 years. Like that Cutler trade and that Mac trade, and you was like, man, I miss having first round
picks. They gave up a first.
I forgot. Yeah, to just stop. All right,
sorry for reminding you about the Justin Fields trade, where they also gave up a first round pick to go get it.
True. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they shouldn't give up any first round picks.
It works pretty okay for the Rams.
Well, yeah, it does. But it would have been, this could have been the year where you could have said, you know what, let's go for it and try to get in the back of the first round. I mean, the back of the top of the second round. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even, like, so even depending on what you would have to do, if you had to do 2 2s, a 2 and a 3, a 2 and a future 3, and I'm not talking about the same draft, it could have been 2 different future drafts or whatever, but you should have tried to do that to jump back up there so that you could sit there and get you one of the guys that was pressuring the quarterback. That clearly, I would say this, and I could be wrong, clearly they like one of those guys that was in the top of the second round. Or maybe it was a guy that went in the first round. But I believe the only guys they really liked were the guys on that run.
That went really early.
Yeah, that he had to be somewhere in there. He had to be hit, or if it was more than one, they had to be somewhere in there. But
which is
also
a different story. You know, like you're not going to move up from 57 to 34. You know, that's kind of crazy. So right. You know, if TJ Parker was their guy, and he's gone at 35.
Can I give you a 2 and 4 from next season's draft?
You know, if Cassius Howell's their guy,
2 and 4. Does a 2 and 4 get it? I'm giving you. Look. I'm giving you. I'll give you this. I'll give you my second round pick this year, a second round pick next year, and a 4th round pick next year to move to the top of the second round this year.
I mean, I don't know. I'm so bad at that stuff.
I think that should be about enough.
If it's me, I'm like, I also want TJ Parker. I also want Cassius Howell. So no.
Okay. You could be right. You could be right. No, I want him more, but you could be right. You could be right. Anything else stick out to you about this draft, particularly, or what the Bears have done?
No, just, hey, you know what? I know we just kind of dunked on you a little bit, Mr. Pulse. Thank you for getting rid of those 7th rounders and moving up so we could move on with our day. That, honestly, that was a big time solid. That was a big time solid. Thank you. No, but again, we kind of dunked on this whole situation in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. The Bears added some talent. They added some nice players. Did they address their biggest needs in big ways? They got the center. They have once again almost entirely ignored that defensive line. They got safety. Mm-hmm. That was big.
Got the corner.
They got a corner. So the defensive line, it's just like, it's every year now. It's every year now.
Okay. All right. Let's leave this on a good. Let's try.
The players are good. The players are good. They got good players. They got good players.
Let's try to flip this on a better note.
Okay.
Of the players that seem like they'd be closest to starting, 2 of them are defensive players and one's an offensive player.
The 2 closest to starting being
the 3 closest: the safety, the corner, the center.
You think Malik Muhammad can push
that dude? Yeah, I bet he can. I exciting.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
do you remember where Tyreek Stevenson was at the end of last year? Like, it was like Cats was getting hurt, and it wasn't like activate Tyreek. It was like Tyreek
I thought he
Stevenson
had some good games. I thought he played pretty admirably as CB1 when called upon at times. Was it always pretty? No, but I think there were times where it was like you're CB1 and he was doing pretty good.
Wasn't there what cornerback got hurt within the last 3 to 4 weeks of the season that was started or playing? Because it was a situation I remember where it was like, yo, so and so got hurt and they're not playing.
Got hurt.
That's what I'm about to say, and they did not play Tyreek Stevenson, right? They didn't play him, and so for me, that speaks to like, yeah, you cool, but I don't know how cool when it comes to DA. So I'm just saying, opposite.
Deshaun Wright played 17 games. I was mistaken. I could have sworn Deshaun Wright got hurt.
What about in the playoffs? Somebody went down, and I remember
he played both playoff games.
No, I'm not saying him. It may have been whoever. It was one, or was it? You know what? Was it a situation? You know what it was? No, I'm wrong. When JJ came back, it was, are you going to start Tyreek over
or Nishan?
That's where
and they stuck with Nishan, who, I mean, to be fair, was having a career year.
I'm not okay. I can understand that, but if this guy is viewed as one, he's a lock for your start. My point is, if he's a lock starter, I would think you'd be like, but that's our guy. He's part of the future. Because clearly, look, Nishan, guess who wasn't part of the future? Nishan, right?
Right? Like, I'm not saying he's a lock. But yes, you're right. As we talk this out, you're right. Malik Muhammad for sure has a chance to win.
It's a chance because look, when you look at Terrell, they don't know him, right?
And he's missed so much time.
You look at it's the contract year for Tyreek Stevenson also. Let's not forget that. So that plays factors in on, all right, how much are we invested in him if we're not even bringing him back? You know what I'm saying? Now, you want best players on the field, but it gets to a point if him and Malik aren't, it's not that far, and it's like, I can give Malik more of this ticket. It may get more like this, and this kid's going to be here for the next 3 to 4 years, and I don't see him necessarily being here. It's a chance, I feel like, that maybe Malik Muhammad can get some starts this year. And guess what? He probably will anyway, because when the cornerbacks are going to get hurt anyway. Not a knock. It just happens.
Sam Roche is going to be your starting tight end in 13 personnel. If the Bears open the game in 13, guess who's starting? If the Bears open if they open in 13, guess who's starting?
Sam Roche. The Roche. La Roche. Also, whoa. First of all, we haven't talked about this. Xavier Thomas has alluded to being a distant relative of Walter Payton. Right?
Really? I missed that?
Yes. And Sam Roche, granduncle, is Merlin Olsen.
Yeah.
Right? But people don't think about this. This is the thing. Man, and again, this is way before my time. But you knew from seeing like Deacon Jones on TV, and you talk about like the fearsome foursome. I believe that was the nickname of the Los Angeles Rams, vaulted defensive linemen. Like, these guys were bad in Memphis. Like Merlin Olsen, outside of being, I believe he sung. I know he acted. I think he laid some tracks down too.
Really?
I think he may have. You know, back then actors used to think. Listen, Little Nimoy sung Bilbo Baggins. Bilbo. It happens back in those days. You were multifaceted. But Merlin Olsen was a badass NFL player, is the point that I'm trying to make. Not saying it has anything. I mean, well, bloodlines are bloodlines. His dad played at Duke. I believe his grandfather may have played too. Yes, his grandfather played in the NFL too.
Merlin Olsen was in 4 films and has an extensive television career.
Yeah, it was on Little House on the Prairie.
34 episodes of Father Murphy, 51 episodes of Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm. Did he lay some tracks down?
Petticoat Junction.
Did he lay some tracks down?
You know, on his Wikipedia page, I do not see any music career.
But
he did co-host Children's Miracle Network telethons founded by Marie Osmond and John Schneider.
Hold on.
He lived in the Coachella Valley.
Oh, but he was really high. All right, it populated that way. So let's see. Merlin Olsen, Hall of Fame actor, broadcaster, did not have a career as a professional musician. While discography sites show rare non-music related audio listing, he appeared in the 1989 commercial featuring, I do not know that name, and I'm not going to disrespect myself. No, I guess I was
He
wrong.
was a star of the silver screen.
I guess I was wrong
and
about
on the gridiron. So yeah, no, guys with football pedigrees.
Fearsome Foursome was the name of the group. All right. So he has a wait, what's this flower talk thing? I guess I'm wrong. I guess Merlin, I was trying to give it to you, but I can't give it to you. So all right. On that note, for Alex Shapiro, I'm Kenneth Davis. This is the Windy City Pod. Sometime this upcoming week, we're going to go over talk Bears, of course, but we're also going to talk about the division and what our thoughts on what the teams in the division did with the draft. Usual formats from, what I'm saying, the whole show, and break that down and give our thoughts, see who did well. What if the Bears did the worst when we come off of reviewing what the other teams did? We haven't talked about RAS either. We're failing. There hasn't been a RAS discussion. We activate the RAS machine, Alex. The RAS machine has to be activated, so we have to go over RAS. We have to talk. If you're not talking draft and RAS, you're really not. The new word, the word that is funny that you always see, like the new football term. What's the new draft term is strain.
Strain?
Yes, it'd be like his strain, and it's used as a positive. Where I've seen strain 15 times, and then I've seen people talk about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't. When did this? I'm sure it started popping a year or two ago. But strain.
I've missed that. We're reading.
Okay, wait.
Apparently, I do often watch the draft with the sound off. Well, at least this year, I was watching with the sound off because my son is asleep. So watch a lot of television with the sound off lately. So didn't hear anybody talking strain. It's like the super corporate jargon. Instead of saying I'm working on something, I'm efforting that. Why can't we just say we're working on it? We're all working. We know this is work. We're just so afraid of saying work. Yeah, I'm efforting that for you.
Yeah, I kept seeing strain. Whoa. In context, NFL players analyze strain refers to sophisticated data-driven metrics used to measure the effectiveness of defensive pass rushers, specifically analyzing closing speed, pressure applied to a court. Now, that's not. It was. I've seen it used on offensive players this NFL draft also. So, Alex, when you go, if you look at any of the scouting details, the word that kept popping out to me.
Logan Jones strain factor. What's the strain factor on Logan Jones? I'll look into it. All right. So yeah, we'll talk about UDFAs. We'll talk about the division. We'll talk about strain factors.
All right. For Alex, this is Ken. We'll see you perhaps in a few days to talk some more draft and bust some lures when it comes to what the hell the Bears are doing when it comes to defensive linemen. We're out.